Welcome to my channel, Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. Hi, my name is Minna Crichton. Before I continue with going on to the next exhibit, I just thought I'd let you know that most of this video clip is scripted, and I've actually got notes here so I'll be looking into the camera and looking down, but that's because I'm referring to my notes. So here we go. This video clip will be mainly focusing on the second mental health assessment report dated the 18th of November 2015 that was submitted as an exhibit. This mental health assessment is different from the first one in my last video clip. Why? Because this mental health assessment was made of me or about me, and not only this mental health assessment was done without my consent, I also have not to this day met this doctor personally, nor I've had a one-on-one consultation at this time or at any time. So that's why it makes this mental health assessment different from the last one. The report is a 11-page report, and I will be selecting particular portions of the report to elaborate in excessive detail the precise probabilities of the events on or about at that point of time the actual events occurred. So what I'll be doing is I'll be actually taking quotations from the report and addressing them and just quoting them from the actual original report. So yeah. So starting off with page 1 of the report, paragraph 1. The report is titled Unidentified and Unnamed Employee A. So he's actually calling me, the subject, as Employee A in this case. Assessment as to this employee's health and safety and competence to be at work, and the health and safety of co-employees and members of the public in the workplace. Page 1, paragraph 2. As requested, I have assessed this employee's health problems, their relationships to her past and current work, and my opinion as to ongoing management of the situation. Paragraph 3 of the same page. Prior to this consultation, I had carefully read, and he's actually written, this is not quite, I'm just telling you what he's talking about. He's listed 7 documentations as to where he got the information from to make the report and a decision about me. So he's listed like 7 different documentations that was given to him to make this assessment. But I must note that I haven't seen those documentations myself. However, I do recognize the title of some of them. But I haven't cited these documentations. Like, I haven't confirmed that these documentations he made these decisions on. I didn't agree with. I haven't. Yeah, what I'm saying is, getting to the point, is that I have not cited them myself and confirm, yes, that's the one, yes, I read that, because that's how it's supposed to be. You know, when it comes to evidence, all parties are supposed to agree that they've seen the evidence and it's placed before the person who's making a decision, whether it's a judge or an adjudicator. So I'm just acknowledging that I haven't cited these documentations, but some of them do look familiar, the title, but I haven't officially seen the documentations myself. Page 2, paragraph 1. In none of the documents given to me is there any identification of any employees' names, including of any co-employees or managers, nor any personal identifying data given about these persons. This includes the lack of any identity names of the psychologist and also the doctor. All employees are each given an individual different alphabetical letter. So what he's saying is he's referring to doctors, the psychologists, myself, or anyone he's referring to. He's using alphabetical letters to identify who he's talking about. Now, before I go into the next page, he's mentioned a psychologist here, just so then you know why it's important for me to mention this. The psychologist came into the picture not until 2013. So I just thought it was important to mention that the evidence he had in front of him, he's taken into consideration past events leading up to the time he made that report. So in all fairness, the psychologist came in my circumstances going back as far as 2013, but all that I can explain because there are exhibits in my file in relation to the psychologist's report, but I won't go on a bit more about that. I will talk about the psychologist as time goes on. Page 2, paragraph 3 and 4. I had carefully and comprehensively read all these documents and made notations regarding sources and content of information that I consider to be important in working this assessment. I have not examined or interviewed or had any contact with any of the persons involved, nor have I visited the workplace. Page 2, paragraph 5. The employer states they have requested that employee A see me in person for a non-treating doctor assessment for a third-party assessment of employee A's health and competence and safety to be at work. I am told that employee A has refused to consent to this assessment and that also consent has been refused for me to or her employer to contact her doctor or psychologist. So he's confirming in this paragraph that I don't consent. Page 2, paragraph 7. Summary of problems and events. I have grave concern about the mental health of employee A, and I have formed a preliminary view that she is currently unfit to perform the requirements of her role. However, I am not medically trained and I have been unable to obtain any information from a qualified medical practitioner about the state of employee A's mental health. So what he's actually stating and confirming in this paragraph also is that he's not qualified, even though he's made an opinion about me, even though he knows he's not qualified, but he's made it anyway. So, but he's acknowledged that in that statement. Page 3, paragraph 2. You note that you feel her complaints have been investigated fully and she has informally failed to provide actual evidence to support her complaints. Now, I did support evidence, but my complaints weren't investigated at all. Paragraph 3. In respect to her past history, you know employee A raised similar concerns, re her safety from the public, to the employer in 2010. So this little paragraph, he's acknowledged the legal complaints that I'd already submitted in 2010. And if you've been watching me on Facebook, I'm talking about the protected disclosure. So this little paragraph confirms that I did, I did do what I said I'd do. So we're going now to paragraph 3. In 2013, the employer, I'll just stop there. Instead of saying, I'm sort of kind of changing, like I'm not saying the actual employer's name, I'm just saying employer, but it's the employer's actual name is on the actual report. But I think if you've been watching me on Facebook, everybody knows anyway. Agreed to excuse employee A for a period from performing the front counter duties of her position so as to minimize exposure to the public based on her fears that she has been stalked and was not safe at the front counter. I'll pause there for a moment, and I thought it was important to mention this is where the psychologist came into picture. At this time, I actually refused to do the front counter because of the criminal harassment, and I knew that I was in serious hostile situation. So I put my own safety first, and I refused to do the counter because I didn't feel safe because of the criminal harassment that I was going through when I leave work and wherever I was going to public and home. So this is the reason why I did refuse to do the counter at this point of time, and this is when the psychologist came in. And also a meeting took place at this point of time too, in front of the senior human resource manager and also the service manager, and this is the psychologist came to this meeting too, and the actual manager, my manager at that time where I was working in the jurisdiction I was working in. Paragraph 4. You state employee A has advised the employer that she is not taking any medication other than tablets for high blood pressure and iron tablets. So I'm just confirming that this paragraph confirms that I wasn't on any mental health medication, and I wasn't. So this paragraph confirms that. In saying that, my family GP did submit a medical certificate as part of evidence to let the employer know that I wasn't on any mental health medication. So I thought that was important. Paragraph 6. My summary of the points in respect an employee A and related matters happen. Oh, sorry. It appears from reading all this information that employee A has long ago separated from her husband, and there may be some residue psychological issues as to problems with domestic violence in that relationship. If those past events were associated with physical or mental threats or harm to employee A in the context of that relationship, then that could give rise to ongoing fears and anxiety and possible symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, I'll pause right there. I was a little bit upset when I read this when I first read the report, because this doctor has brought issues going back as far back as how long ago? Roughly on top of my head, 15 years, maybe more. But I thought it was important just to mention that everything that I was going through with the cyberbullying had nothing to do with family violence whatsoever. Now this paragraph concerned me also because if something was to happen to me and somebody else came onto the scene to investigate who knew nothing about me or anything, the evidence appears that it was family violence. But I can confirm that we were divorced in 2006, which was like 9 years ago, leading up to me getting the unfair dismissal. And I had no official contact with my ex, my children's father, other than the odd time I would contact him about things, you know, with the kids, or, you know, yeah. But other than that, we were not in any relationship. He wasn't even in the scene. So I was really upset to read that because it looked like you know, the blame would point to the wrong person if anything was to happen to me. So I don't know where he got that information from because I hadn't even seen him, but that paragraph actually proves that he's done an investigation, so he's gotten more information from somewhere. So I thought I'll mention that. Okay. Paragraph 6, page 6, I'm carrying on with the report. More description on the micromanaging, premeditated stage stalking that took place on or about before and leading up to this report. So those are my own words, just a sort of like an introduction of what else I'm reading. Point 7, sentence. Oh, this sentence here, I didn't actually write down the actual quote, but this sentence was not relevant because my complaints were in relation to the workplace bullying and the bad working conditions at that time. But this sentence upset me too, because even though it was just a sentence, he's written a paragraph pointing a direction to the church. But I hadn't seen this person, this doctor who wrote this report, so that was a concern. I was really upset about it. But if people outside coming in and don't know me or my circumstance would read, you know, I mean, I don't even see what was the relevance of that sentence and him bringing that in. But I was upset because of the direction that the report was taking. It was taking it away from the workplace environment bullying that I was complaining about and is the root cause of what I was going through at this time. So not only that, this is my private life that I've mentioned, and everyone's entitled to a private life, and nobody knew about my private life unless I had a one-on-one consultation with them, and they were like, I considered like a trustworthy friend at the time, which were, you know, with you that I would open up to at work, and they know who they are. So I was, you know, really upset about reading this quotation because that was my private life, which had nothing to do with the workplace bullying or for me getting the unfair dismissal. Point 10, so another quotation, that she has been deliberately forced off the road and tried to be forced into accidents by several drivers that happen to know where she is driving. Okay, so this is another one. I didn't know where he got that from, but it's been misquoted. I have a fair idea. It's probably from some of the things that I've complained about. But what I'm saying, what I meant by this quotation with the car accidents coming in the picture now, is that I've had several car accidents that I knew that it wasn't my fault and they should have been investigated. In fact, I had a reason to believe that they were a setup. So I made, you know, so that they weren't my fault. But not only that, it's one of the things that you know when you're targeted is the car accident. It's all consistent with the micromanaging, the stalking and everything that I've been complaining about. But so I just sort of explained exactly what I meant by that. But those things did take place where people were I was being micromanaged, and these people that the opposition would come out when I'm by myself and there are times I've had accidents. I know that they were set up, but what could I do except, you know, they're in your space already. When somebody's micromanaging you, they're already right in. That, you know, that's what's happened with me. And so I'd have like the good people, my family, watching over me, and then somewhere along the line, those that are trying to railroad me or destroy my reputation or cause distress or havoc or whatever, they come on the scene when no one, you know, those that who are normally watching me aren't there. So, but that's what happened. It's an alliance. It's a really dangerous, hostile, hate alliance. Yeah. So page 7, paragraph 1, based on the, okay, I've written this one in my own word. Okay, this one too, I was really upset because this evidence, I found it was the statement to be untrue. Well, all of it is. And perceives falsehood and perjury and deception. I was really upset when I read this paragraph because he wrote untrue stuff about people that I worked with who knew me well. It was just a tactic to destroy my reputation and to turn people against me, but I never said anything like that. Yeah, so, but yeah, that alone really upset me with that report, that paragraph. Page 7, paragraph 3. Employee A's personal mental health. Employee A does not make any statements that suggest she is severely depressed. So this comment actually confirms that I'm not depressed, and I wasn't. Yeah, and also I wasn't even suicidal at all. So I was upset when I read that, but at least he's acknowledged that he's, you know, he can discern or ascertain that I know that the evidence that I've submitted doesn't actually, you know, indicate that I suffer from any depression or anything like that, and I wasn't suicidal at all. And yeah, anyway, I'll carry on the quotation. However, I have concerns that in a number of areas of the information supplied by employee A, she has mentioned the impact of her complaints on her in respect of possible harm to herself and suicide. On page 7, top paragraph of the employment investigation interview of 17 August 2015, employee A states in respect of the alleged rude gestures of her. Okay, I'll pause there for a moment. Now, he's mentioned a suicide here, but I do recall making a statement that the workplace micromanaging or cyberbullying I was subject to at the time were pain, that I was talking about the pain and the suffering that was causing me emotionally at the time, and I was saying that they were enough, you know, to cause someone to commit suicide. So my suggestion of the, you know, that the indirect crime that I was subject to, or the indirect micromanaging, you know, set of circumstance that I was subject to at the time, is equivalent to direct crime. So what I mean by that, like if someone punches you these days, if someone punches you, it's common sense. Or if they spit at you, someone punches you or spit at you, it's known as, what is it called, common assault. Except what they were doing to me, it was done indirect and it was deliberate because they knew it was going to upset me. And yeah, so I did make the comments about the hostility of the environment at the time, of how dangerous it is, but it does come under assault and battery. because that's what I meant by what that quotation he wrote. So I hope you're getting my point. Like, if somebody else didn't, looked at the report, they would interpret that incorrectly. And I'm just verifying in my own words what I meant and clarifying what it should be, because it is about me. Okay, page 8. Page 8 just talks about general points from the documents. And the report is in the opinion of the doctor who wrote the report. So this report is actually written in his own opinion. And he hasn't even met me. Yeah, so it's just a sentence, but it's just confirmation that it's only just his opinion. Page 9, paragraph 7. I note that employee A has refused all efforts of help and any contact with her family doctor by you as her employee or myself as an assisting medical opinion. Okay. Page 11. Paragraph 2. If consent is refused, I still believe it is my professional and ethical duty to then, under Rule 11 Section D, as above, to make disclosure of employee A's pertinent health information to the person who can best do something to prevent or lessen the health threat to employee A, and in my opinion, that is employee A's doctor or general practitioner. Paragraph 3. To take this course of action, I would need you to identify employee A by full name and date of birth or address to allow accurate identification by the general practitioner, and the name and the address of employee A's GP or last treating doctor. All right. So he's confirming that he hasn't seen the exhibits. What I mean is the letter from the medical certificate from my family GP at this time. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the actual complaints by myself. So on page 4, paragraph 4 and 5, they were the actual health and safety micromanaging set of circumstance that I was talking about. But I won't read the whole paragraph because it's quite long, and it's not really irrelevant. But I'll just clarify some of the things that I was talking about here in the complaints in these paragraphs. I've mentioned the names of some of the people in my workplace, So what I'm saying is that some of the things in this paragraph is true. Well, not some. It is true. And there's a lot of truth in everything that I've written that I have complained about, because they did happen. So I've mentioned things in this complaint like colours, them leaving objects in my path, things like rubbish bags, to indicate death. They were actually micromanaging stuff. So it was a really hostile set of circumstance for me at this point in time. But if you've been watching me on my Facebook page, in fact, so a lot of the posts are not there now, but there's still quite enough there. But if those that were watching me before I did my YouTube channel will get the benefits of what I actually put up there, because I was using picture like photographs and pictures to try to get used to think of where I'm coming from. And so the using of the pictures was more of trying to explain of these things that we would normally say are reason of belief, like they're happening because they're indirect crimes and they are premeditated, and it is happening, and I didn't know how else to explain it because I was outnumbered, but I knew it was happening. So if you were watching me on my Facebook page when I started going on Facebook page from 2016 onwards, I was putting up different posts, and if you didn't know me, it looked quite confusing. I was like, oh, what the heck, so basically this report kind of confirms why I put those posts up, but you'd get the benefit of it. Yeah, it was just another form of me trying to explain what I was trying to explain of the things that were happening to me, because I was apparently the invisible person, and at this time. Now, page 5, I can quote some of these quotations of the actual complaints. The kind of wrongdoing behaviour that has occurred within the office are as follows. 1, I mentioned colours and people are used, objects, logos within words, on or pictures. Most recently, women have put their hair up in a bun to identify and to indicate the person they support and represent. But in the criminal law, any wrongdoing like that, it's known as an alliance, especially if it's causing somebody else disadvantage and harm. So these are the actual complaints that he's written down. 2, stage talking within the workplace that continues, and as I leave work to go home, suggested glances, gestures, or dirty looks that is consistent with the stalking around the building. So I'm talking about at work. So these are the things were happening not only when I went out public, but it was actually happening in the building. Number 3, objects left out to indicate death threats, for example, knives, rubbish bags, even boxes, rubber bands, bobby bins, left out deliberately in the staff room using colour codes or objects to give a message. So basically I've just read out the actual things that I was complaining about. But you got to keep in mind that everything, my privacy was gone, and it started from a breach, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And common sense, when your privacy is gone and you're targeted, and once your whole environment is contaminated by the opposition, it's so easy for you to be under unfavorable set of circumstance where everything is negative. But it is definitely an alliance of the opposition. So this is the circumstance that I was subject to at this time. Okay, so what I'm actually holding in front of you now is the first mental health assessment that I was talking about. And this is what it looks like. I'm sorry it's a bit colourful, but everything I've been working on. But I just wanted to use just to get just a view of what the mental health assessment I was talking about, and that I actually submitted as an exhibit. It is an exhibit. But this is what the actual first one looked like, the first mental health assessment. And there's a reason why I'm doing this, and you'll find out. So this is the best I can do for now, but this is the second, hang on, I'm getting there. This is the second mental health assessment. So if you can see the first page, then we'll just carry on. You see I've been scribbling over it and just getting notes, but it's just important that you just view this. There's a reason for why, and that's the end of it. Okay, all right, so that's what the actual mental health assessments look like. So I'm going to finish this video clip now. Sorry it's taken longer than I anticipated, but I was unavoidable. So don't forget to press like if you like this video, so if you've been watching me on my Facebook page, basically my YouTube channel is actually talking about, in my own words, what the evidence contains, and yeah, and then I'm just going to go through each video, but I do intend on doing some common sense questions just to get your head around you know, thinking for yourself in regards if it was you. But I'm you know, just, you know, disclaimer that this video clip, these exhibits and that, it's got to do with me and me only, and it doesn't mean it's going to be exactly the same for you. However, all the tips that I've disclosed on what you should be doing to look after yourself, and yeah, it just helps when you know, so, but I do intend on doing another video clip, a separate one, just on the actual the last two reports, and have a few questionnaires to get you thinking. So it takes a bit of time for me to put all these things together, but I will put one up, so you just have to look out for it. I am working on it, and yeah, so I'll see you in my next video.